think, is this really necessary to write down your goals? Is it really going to make things happen? And I was that person who was really against it. I am not a vision board person. Like, you're never going to find a big board in my office that's got all these magazine clip out pictures. I'm not that person at all. But in the beginning days of me kind of growing professionally, I started working for Chalene Johnson and her company. She had a certification company at the time. And then with the people that were working for her, we would come every year to do a training. And this was back in 2002 that I went out there. Back in 2002, this was my life. I was traveling for the medical industry. I was traveling for a digital x-ray company where I would go and do installations across the countries and actually have to travel every week, miserable. I was in a horrible relationship with a guy who was really good with brainwashing me into believing that he was not cheating with his ex-girlfriend that they had a baby with, but he really was. And then I had no friends. I was a loner. I wanted to be a loner because I traveled all the time. I was in a miserable relationship. I didn't have any friends because I moved to the city where my ex was living, that my only friends were his family. I was in a very miserable place. And I was working for Chalene Johnson. So I had started working for her in 2000, and this was the year 2002. I really didn't get into personal development until actually 9/11. 9/11 was a turning point for me, because when that happened, I was actually stuck out in Oregon doing an installation for the x-ray equipment, and 9/11 happened, and I had to spend time out there a full week because I wasn't able to fly back to New York because of airspace being closed. So I went up to Mount St. Helens, I went hiking around waterfalls and all, but it really gave me time to kind of really check myself and be like, what am I doing? Why am I in this stupid relationship where I can't even travel every week without like not even trusting him, just wondering, what is he really doing? Is he really off with his ex? And that was one of my pivotal points of, I got to change. So obviously that was September 2001. And this was a camp that I had gone out to with Chalene, and this was February of 2002. So just months later. And finally, I gave in to doing personal development. So I started reading. The first book that I read was Brian Tracy's Eat That Frog. And additionally, as soon as I got back from the trip in Oregon where I was stuck from 9/11, I finally gave in to Tony Robbins. I went down to the Buffalo Public Library and took out cassette tapes of Tony Robbins and started to listen to him while I drove around when I was having to travel for my job. Now, when I went out to these camps, what Chalene would have us do was write down 10 goals that we want to have happen in the next year. I thought it was dumb. And I can never really come up with 10. That's why this one has 9, because I was reaching. I was like, this is so dumb to write things down. But I'm going to share with you these goals, give you the dates, and then also kind of give you some tips on, you know, is this worth it? I wrote this on February of 2002. And she wanted us to open these a year later. It was my name, Christine, I don't know if you can see it, Jones. That's my maiden name. It was just easy to spell. Let me share with you the secret little goals that I had. There were 9 because I was struggling to find 9. And let me go through them to see, did they actually happen? Does this actually work? So I wrote goals for personal life. My first goal was to find a life partner and get married. So let's pause on that one. This was February 2002. And when I left, I went back and I gave in to going on Match.com because my girlfriend kept telling me, you got to go on it. And I finally said, fine. I went on it, but I didn't put my picture because I was so embarrassed. I didn't want my high school friends to see me up on there. So I never got really anybody talking to me. Then I finally put my pictures up. I met my husband. Our first date was then April of 2002. So I wanted to find my life partner and get married. I put myself up on Match, and for a couple months, then my husband and I started to communicate, and we met on April 27, 2002, which was actually my ex's birthday. That was a good first date. Oh my gosh, months later, I meet the person I then marry. All right. Next is live in a state or area that I personally choose and desire. Well, I have made that happen. I mean, I was living in New York at the time. So I guess overall, yeah, I'm living where we choose, which is now Texas. Third thing is to develop my fitness career with a positive reputation. This was way back in 2002. And in my course of growing in this profession, in the fitness industry, I met my max. I did everything I wanted to. I achieved all the awards I wanted to. In 2004 is the year that I was awarded the very first award that the company had ever given, which was the most valuable presenter for the company. And so that all happened within the year and a half following writing this goal out. And the next, transform my body to its most healthful, strongest aspect, because I was constantly in a state of yo-yo, a secret fitness instructor closet yo-yo. That's the way I lived. Now, that didn't fix itself till years later, so I have to be honest. Next thing, find a more stable profession that doesn't travel, because I didn't want to travel all the time. I wanted to be able to finally get married and have kids. And 2004 is the year that I actually then quit my medical profession and started working for Shalene's company full time. So I was able to work from home. 2004 is when I got married as well. Next, to increase my education to obtain my bachelor's degree. Well, I didn't get that one, but I didn't need it, because all of my growth professionally in education happened virtually by my mentor or other mentors that I had chosen. It was all virtual. I don't need a piece of paper and paying thousands of dollars to make me grow professionally or my own career. Have a more prominent position in the gym. Example, be a director. Sorry, if you love being a director, props to you, but no way ever, ever, ever would I want to be a director for a gym. That nightmare of I think it's a nightmare for me, for my goals, because I don't want to constantly have to be there. I don't want to have to constantly cover all these classes that instructors can't get to sub out. I don't want to deal with all of that nightmare, because it's a time consuming thing that I want complete control of my time. So that goal, I don't even want. So sometimes we write goals that you don't necessarily see the big long picture for, because you're too kind of short-sighted. Does that make sense? Like your box is right here and you think you want to go there, but then when you actually get there, or when you grow personally or professionally yourself, you realize, oh my gosh, that was the dumbest goal in the world. Why would I ever want that? That's totally going to limit me. And that's kind of one of them. The next was on my way to having a baby. Well, on my way, I was having a baby because I met my husband, and then we got married in 2004. And then in 2005, that June is when I got pregnant. My final one was to increase my income by at least $5,000 to $10,000 a year. Well, that definitely did happen. Now, not necessarily with Shalene's company. So this didn't all happen within the year, because this I wrote in 2002, and I didn't really start to increase my income largely because I took a pay cut. So if I look at this from 2002 to 2003, I was working in the medical profession and for Shalene's company part-time. In 2004 is when I quit my medical profession to work for Shalene full-time and took over a $30,000 pay cut. So I did not increase my income, did not have that control until I decided to join as a coach in 2008, and didn't know anything about it at all, nothing about network marketing, and wondered why was Shalene promoting that we should do this. I wasn't doing it for the money, but I think I definitely have superseded adding $5,000 to $10,000 a year to my income. But think about that, because I know for my own self, when I worked in the medical industry, when I was trying to get a raise, my raise was typically $3,000 a year. Now, my control with coaching, which everyone does coaching differently, and obviously there is no guarantee of level of success or income. It's completely up to you. You're willing to do the work. But I had made that. I mean, I make that well over every week now. So not just myself, but a lot of my coaches that did this and started building are definitely making that every week. That's their weekly paycheck, if not more. I'm not saying that that's what coaching is going to do for you, but it's definitely something that you can add on your plate. What's the point of all of this? Two big things I want to leave you with. One, is it dumb to do writing things down? No, because even though you may think it's dumb, because I thought this was the dumbest thing, I did not want to really do this when she made us do it, but this is the first time that I actually had to do it. I thought it was dumb, but I wasn't right in my mind because I was working on personal development. It hadn't clicked in yet. So personal development is so strong. But does writing it down actually make it happen? Yeah, I mean, obviously you could see this has all happened, but there's something different about writing and then having it work in your world, because you physically wrote it out, you put it in your forward motion, your subconscious or your universe, wherever you're putting your goals to, because you have to put it outwardly. So first thing is, nothing's going to change unless you put it outward. You have to project it and put it somewhere, because you can't secretly tell yourself you want this and that to happen, and it's not going to happen. I don't know how many times I've secretly wished for things to happen, but nothing changed until you actually take action to formally put it out there. Second point that is most important to make things like this happen, you got to work with someone. You have to align with someone who is where you want to be, maybe has gone through what you've gone through, but you know that you can trust and align with, that's going to lead you not in circles, or not doing busy work, or not a temporary feel-good action for the moment. You want to work with someone that is going to align you with the right steps, a foundation, but not for work and action, but also for mindset, and also for aligning yourself with the right people. You've got to surround yourself with the right people that are going to change your world. If you want to change your world, or if you want to change other people's worlds. But I suggest that you do that, line yourself up with someone, but you have to put it out there somewhere to make those things happen.